Revealed, Millionaire's heartwarming tears as he discovers employee praying with her 3 children. Tim Mason had it all. A plush house on the hill, a luxury car in the driveway, and a successful hardware store in the heart of the small town that raised him. Yet, as he drove past the familiar streets, a searing ache clawed at his chest. He felt like a ghost haunting his own life, filled with wealth but devoid of warmth. One sunny afternoon, while pondering his reflection in the store's windows, he spotted a heart-stirring scene in the nearby park. There she was, Marissa, his dedicated employee. She was kneeling in the grass, surrounded by her 3 young children, holding hands and bowed heads. They were praying with the kind of intensity that made everything around them fade. The laughter of children turned to whispered hopes, as the sun cast golden rays upon their heads. Tim's childhood memories crashed over him like a tidal wave. It was his late father who taught him compassion, the value of family, and the importance of community. It hurt to remember. Here was Marissa, embodying resilience and love, dedicating herself entirely to her kids despite the burdens she carried. He was just a millionaire. She was a warrior. This contrast filled him with bewilderment. Suddenly, the very foundation of his life felt shaky. What was success without connection? As he watched the children giggle and the genuine smile on Marissa's face flicker like a candle in the wind, he puzzled over whether he was truly part of this town anymore. He admired her strength. Her sacrifices were moving, and the dreams she nurtured for her children tugged at his heartstrings. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as Tim's thoughts drifted, fate knocked on his door. Rumors of a financial crisis began swirling around the hardware store. The very thing that secured Marissa's livelihood. Should he tighten the purse strings? Or should he trust the pulse of the community rallying around Marissa? Who was he to decide? As the town rallied to help her, the stakes rose. Their cheers felt like a weight on his shoulders, urging him to act with courage. Tim began to feel the weight of his decisions pressing down on him, battling against the hollow echo of isolation that had been his constant companion. He glanced back at Marissa. She was laughing and dancing with her children, her spirit alive with hope. Could he turn his back and risk losing the very essence of what it meant to be truly wealthy? As he wrestled with this looming decision, uncertainty lingered thick in the air. Laughter echoed in the background, pulling at his heart but also leaving him with unanswered questions. Would he uphold the integrity that defined his childhood or let financial pressures shatter it? As the children's laughter mingled with the tension, he stood on the precipice of a choice that could redefine him altogether. What would he do when it mattered most? Tim's heart raced as he stood rooted to the spot, torn between the memories of his father's teachings and the daunting pressures of his business. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow that seemed to illuminate Marissa's joy. With her children giggling like the sweetest music, it felt like a world away from his suffocating reality. He remembered a simpler time when his family wasn't defined by the weight of money. The laughter of children was once enough to fill any room with vibrant energy. Yet here he was, living in a mansion, yet feeling like a stranger in his own skin. He wondered if wealth had come at the cost of his soul. "Tim!" a voice called out, and he turned to spot Hank, his right-hand man, striding towards him with urgency. "Have you seen the figures? We might need to lay off some staff if sales don't pick up." The words hit Tim like a punch to the gut. Layoffs? He couldn't picture Marissa losing her job, let alone the impact it would have on her kids. There was a bitter knot forming in his stomach as panic set in. Would he really sacrifice someone's livelihood for the sake of profit? "Not Marissa," Tim replied, his voice steadying with conviction. "She's been with us through thick and thin." Hank raised an eyebrow, confusion mingling with concern. "You can't let your feelings cloud your judgment. We have a business to run." Tim met Hank's gaze, a mixture of determination and fear flickering within him. I know that, but it's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. Marissa needs this job. The town needs her. Hank nodded slowly, sensing the shift in Tim's resolve. We can't just ignore the reality of the situation, though. As they spoke, Tim's eyes returned to the park. Marissa had stood up now, her children swirling around her in pure childish delight. She looked so serene, so full of life. It struck him hard love, laughter, and hope were worth far more than the dollar signs pinned beside them. A sudden thought hit him. What if there was another way? What if they could find community support to help turn things around? Inspired by a wave of optimism, he felt a spark igniting within him. Let us organize a fundraiser, he said impulsively, the idea rolling off his tongue before he could second-guess himself. We can host a community event at the store. The townsfolk would rally behind it. We can feature Marissa's crafts, bring in local artists, showcase the community's best. Hank's surprise was evident, but hope danced in his eyes. You really think we can pull that off? Absolutely. Tim smiled. It's time to remind myself and the town what matters. By the time he started walking back to the store, he felt lighter. A new resolve blossomed in him. It wasn't just about goods and sales. It was about connection and healing. But as the sun set, casting a glow over the town, another thought nagged at him. What if, by exposing his vulnerabilities, he risked losing everything he had built? What if the townspeople saw him not as the benefactor, but a man who had forgotten himself? In that moment, uncertainty crept back in, but with a new sense of purpose. He was ready to fight for more than just a paycheck. The very next day, he would step out of his comfort zone, but could he face the townspeople and bare his heart? Would they embrace him or let the chance for a new connection slip away? Tim woke up the next morning with a sense of urgency thrumming through him. The sun streamed through his window, but instead of brightness, it felt like the harsh spotlight of scrutiny. Today was the day. He had to make the fundraiser happen. There was no turning back. After a quick breakfast, he grabbed his car keys and headed straight to the shop. As he walked through the aisles, familiar shelves lined with products seemed less like his livelihood and more like pieces of a life he had constructed around business. Those shelves could speak. They would share secrets about lost moments and laughter. Yet they also held promises unfulfilled. Hank was already there, shuffling through papers at his desk. Tim! I thought we'd talk about logistics today, right? Yeah, Tim said, his mind racing. But first, let us gather some ideas. We need local vendors, artists, musicians. Hank nodded, clearly surprised but intrigued. The more Tim spoke, the more he could see Hank's gears turning. As they jotted down names, Tim felt the buzz of excitement growing. The thought of everyone, him, Marissa, the townsfolk coming together sparked flames of hope within him. It wasn't just about saving the business. It was about reigniting the community spirit. Tim couldn't help but think of Marissa. She had that spark in her eyes, an energy that attracted not just children but a sense of belonging. He wanted to tell her about the fundraiser in person. A pang of nerves surged through him, but he pushed it aside. This was about more than just numbers. It was about her future, her children's future, and a chance to rebuild the thread between them. As he left the store, he spotted Marissa at her craft table under the shade of an oak tree, glittering materials strewn about, and laughter echoing around her. Her children played nearby, and for a moment, the weight of the world fell away as he watched them. Hey, Marissa! He called, waving as he approached. She turned, her smile lighting up the space like a sunrise. Tim! What brings you here? Can we talk? He gestured toward the quieter part of the park. Once they were away from the joyful commotion, he felt his breath catch just a little. He wanted to be honest. I need to share something important with you. We're planning a community fundraiser to help the store, and well, I'd love for you to be a big part of it. Marissa looked at him, eyebrows raised. What do you mean? Your crafts and your talent can bring the community together. You have a gift, and I want everyone to see that. Your children can be involved too. We can have games, art displays, everything. Her eyes sparkled, the initial shock replaced with excitement. That sounds incredible. We could make it a family day. Tim smiled, heart swelling. Exactly. This is more than just about business. It's about reviving our community spirit. But his joy was clouded by a lingering fear. Could this risky exposure bring the backlash he dreaded? What if Marissa saw the darkness lurking in his self-doubt, the uncertainty of his motivations? As they talked about the details, he noticed her shifting, looking out towards the laughter of her children. You know, she said quietly, I've always believed community means being there for each other, not just as neighbors but as family. Her words resonated in his chest, awakening something he thought he had lost. The weight of uncertainty still simmered beneath, but now there felt like a flicker of hope. Was it possible he could create something lasting, something real? Just then, her youngest son came running towards them, arms wide open, ready for an embrace. Tim knelt down, a soft smile on his face. See? It starts here, Marissa said, smiling as they shared the moment together. Tim felt warmth wash over him. Perhaps, just perhaps, this community fundraiser would not only save the business but would allow him to rediscover himself amid the joys he once knew. Yet, as the laughter around him faded into the background, one question lingered: could he handle the vulnerability needed to truly connect with the townspeople after all this time? Would he be able to reveal his heart without risking everything he had built? As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting golden shadows across the park, Tim felt a flicker of determination spark within him. He stood up, his heart brimming with resolve. We need to decide on a date for this fundraiser, he said, breaking the silence that had settled around them. Marissa nodded, her focus shifting back to him. Right. What about next weekend? We could use this whole park. Next weekend? Tim echoed, his heart racing. That's ambitious. But it could work. They pored over their ideas, jotting down craft stalls, live music slots, and a small stage for performances. Laughter and chatter from the families around them created a perfect backdrop, fueling their excitement. The idea seemed to gain a life of its own, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. I can get the kids to help. Can you imagine? A mini workshop for them, with painting and crafts. Marissa's eyes sparkled as they planned, and Tim's heart swelled with admiration. She was someone who truly believed in the power of community, and he could feel that energy building between them. Just then, Hank approached, his footsteps crunching over fallen leaves. Hey, I got a couple of vendors interested already. Seems like word is spreading. He grinned, his enthusiasm infectious. Tim gave a thumbs up, and they began to brainstorm logistics together, laughing at the ideas that flowed freely. But in the back of Tim's mind, doubts lingered. Would the townsfolk really show up? Could they overcome their differences? Could he handle seeing old faces again? Marissa paused mid-sentence, sensing Tim's distraction. What's bothering you? He looked into her concerned eyes, feeling both exposed and grateful for her attention. I haven't been a part of this community in a while. I'm scared they won't trust me again. She placed a hand on his arm, and the warmth surged through him, igniting something he thought had long been dimmed. People can surprise you. They want to feel a part of something, especially now. Her belief soothed some of the raw edges of his anxiety. Together, they plotted out the finer details, their hands brushing occasionally as they shared ideas. Every glance and smile between them held a deeper meaning, and Tim couldn't shake the feeling that something vital was shifting in his heart. Hours slipped away unnoticed, lost in the glow of camaraderie. Finally, as darkness began to cloak the park, Tim felt a twinge of regret that the day was coming to an end. But they agreed to meet again the next day to work through everything else. As they walked back to their cars, Tim felt the weight of the world lift, replaced by possibility and connection. Marissa, I really appreciate you doing this. We can really make a difference, he said, his voice steady but softer than usual. She smiled warmly, eyes shining. We're in this together, right? Right. Just as they said their goodbyes, he felt that same familiar rush of yearning. It wasn't just about the fundraiser anymore. It was about reopening the door to his past, to the friendships he'd left fractured. It was about claiming his place back in the world. As Marissa got into her car, she turned to give him one last smile, and it pierced through him like sunlight breaking through clouds. He was determined to make this right. After she drove away, he realized he would do anything to protect this new flicker of hope. But as he drove home, with the weight of a project looming large, a new worry crept in. What if he failed to connect with the older folks in town? What if they stood back, arms crossed, unwilling to embrace the idea he had dared to dream? The thought gnawed at him. He couldn't let fear win this time. What would it take to finally let go of the past and step forward into a future filled with possibility? That question lingered in his mind, a haunting whisper as he turned into his driveway. With everything at stake, could he truly find the courage to be vulnerable and open up to the townsfolk who had once turned away from him? Tim parked his car and sat for a moment, staring at the dimly lit house before him. The shadows of doubt loomed large. He thought about the names and faces of the people he used to know, how much had changed, and how he had changed. Would they remember the boy who left? Would they even care that he was back? With a deep breath, he stepped out of the car, determination pushing him forward. The fundraiser was his chance, but first, he had to reach out to the community, reignite those old connections. He needed to muster the courage to face the ghosts of his past. The following day, Tim woke up early. He brewed a pot of coffee, the smell filling his small kitchen like an invitation, and grabbed a notepad. He wrote down names of people he thought he could approach: Charlie, the mechanic who had always had a kind word; Lisa, who was known for her baked goods; and Mr. Jenkins, the owner of the local store who was like a second father to many. Then he hesitated, thinking of the ones who might not welcome him back. His heart sank a little at the thought of facing Frank, the man who had held on to grudges longer than anyone. Frank had never approved of Tim's decisions or lifestyle. But he couldn't let fear of rejection overshadow the hope he felt bubbling within him. As he made a list of his goals, he decided to do this face-to-face, not through social media or phone calls that lacked warmth. He would show them he was sincere, that he truly wanted to make a difference not just for him, but for the community they had shared. With a sense of purpose in his heart, Tim spent the day driving around town, revisiting spots that had once felt like home. He passed by the old diner where he used to work, noticing its faded signage and peeling paint, but it still felt familiar. He stopped in front of the town hall, imagining the many community meetings that had changed lives. Tim parked outside the mechanic's shop, his heart pounding in his chest. The jingle of the doorbell signaled his presence. Inside, machines whirred, and the scent of motor oil hung heavy in the air. Charlie looked up, a frown creasing his brow as he recognized him. Well, if it isn't the ghost of Christmas past. Hey, Charlie. Can we talk? Tim asked, his stomach in knots. Charlie wiped his hands on a rag and stepped closer, surprise flickering in his eyes. Sure. Didn't he expect to see you back around here? The conversation flowed awkwardly at first, but with every joke and shared memory, Tim felt the distance between them evaporate. He explained his desire to help with the fundraiser, and to his surprise, Charlie's expression shifted to one of genuine interest. As they talked, Tim felt the warmth of rekindled friendship glowing inside him. The connection sparked, lighting a path he thought was lost. Count me in, Charlie said, a smile breaking through his initial reserve. We miss you around here. Just don't think I'll be easy on you. When Tim left the shop, he felt lighter, buoyed by the hope of what might unfold. His next stop was the bakery, where Lisa was busy icing cupcakes. Again, the atmosphere changed as they exchanged laughter and kind words. It didn't take long for her to join in the fundraiser effort as well, her passion for the community evident in every enthusiastic account of past events she'd hosted. With renewed energy, Tim headed home. Each interaction strengthened his resolve, but the nagging voice from the back of his mind whispered again, what about Frank? As soon as the thought surfaced, he swatted it away. His last stop would be the grocery store. He had to face the fears hindering his journey. As he took a deep breath and walked toward the store, he realized this was more than just reconnecting with old friends. It was about redemption, about reclaiming his place back in the community he once loved, Could he muster the courage to approach Frank? Or would the shadow of their past still hang over him, darkening the promise of a brighter future? Tim walked toward the grocery store, each step like a drumbeat in his chest. The familiar scent of fresh produce and the low hum of chatter greeted him as he stepped inside. This place, with its bright aisles and low fluorescent lights, brought back a flood of memories. As a kid, he'd raced cart to cart through these spaces with friends, snagging candy bars and laughing without a care in the world. But now, it felt different. Every face he saw seemed to blend into a shadow of the past, and the sight of Frank's looming presence at the register made his stomach twist. The old man's bushy eyebrows knitted together like storm clouds when he caught sight of Tim. "What are you doing back here?" Frank's voice cut through the air, hard and cold as iron. Tim swallowed, searching for the right words, but all he could muster was, "I'm here to help." "Help? You wanted nothing to do with us before." Tim felt the heat rush to his face. In that moment, he couldn't bring himself to defend his choices. Would it even matter? He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I know I hurt a lot of people when I left. This fundraiser, it means a lot to me, as does this community. I want to be here for the ones I left behind." Frank crossed his arms, unwavering. A few good intentions don't undo the years. With each moment that ticked by, Tim felt his resolve beginning to crumble. What good was a heartfelt apology if it only met an unyielding wall? He glanced down the aisle, watching other customers pass, feeling the weight of nostalgia mingling with shame. "I know I can't just walk back and like nothing happened," he continued, determination sharpening his voice. "But I'm trying to make it right, starting with this fundraiser. I want to give back to the community that gave me so much." Silence stretched between them until Frank sighed, the tension flickering like a flame. "It won't be easy, Tim. Trust is hard to get back." "Then I'll work for it," Tim replied earnestly. "It's a start, isn't it?" For a brief moment, Tim thought he saw the hint of something soften in Frank's posture, a crack in his armor, perhaps. But just as quickly it vanished. "Like I said, you've got a long way to go. But if you're serious, I'll think about it." Tim nodded, feeling a mix of relief and uncertainty. He'd taken the first step, but it was just that, a step. As he left the store, no triumphant smile adorned his face. Frank's reluctance reminded him of how much he still had to prove. Later, back in his kitchen, he let that mix of emotions wash over him. There was still a mountain to climb, and he had yet to reach the summit. But with the momentum from Charlie and Lisa aiding his efforts, he began drafting a list of tasks for the fundraiser that involved the community. Drawing them back in with the essence of shared purpose. As night fell, Tim sat on his porch, gazing up at the stars. He sensed an uneasy but familiar hope flickering inside him. He wanted to believe in the possibility of change, not just for himself but for everyone. Did Frank's guarded attitude hint at a wall that couldn't ever be torn down? Or could it be the beginning of something more? The air felt electric, laden with potential. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, but maybe, just maybe, he would find a way to make even Frank see the light. As Tim closed his eyes, he let a smile slip, wondering who would be the next person to join him on this journey. What if the person who had the key to finally unlocking the heart of the community was someone he'd never expect? The next morning, Tim woke up feeling the weight of yesterday's conversations still pressing on his chest. He brewed a pot of coffee, the rich aroma curling around him like a comforting embrace. As he sipped, he glanced at his notebook, pages filled with ideas for the fundraiser. The vision began to take shape in his mind: a neighborhood gathering, games for kids, food trucks lining the street, laughter echoing in the air. It felt right. He made a quick list of calls to reach out to local businesses. He needed help, and support from everyone in the community would be crucial. First, he dialed Charlie, excitement bubbling in his chest. "Hey, it's me. I had this idea about the fundraiser, count me in." Charlie interrupted, enthusiasm radiating through the phone. "I can help with the food trucks. You know I'm connected with a few vendors. Let's make it a block party." The cooperative spirit ignited something inside Tim, a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, others could rally behind him too. He then called Lisa, who was more than willing to help with the logistics. Their conversation flowed, visions of a better community intertwining with laughter and camaraderie. Tim could almost hear the clinking of glasses, feel the warmth of a shared moment with families. With Charlie and Lisa on board, it felt like the first real step toward redemption. As the day went on, he wandered into the local park, hoping to see familiar faces. The sun was high, casting gentle shadows on the grass. Children played, and conversations bubbled around him. He spotted a group of mothers, one of whom he recognized immediately: Sarah, a childhood friend. Taking a deep breath, he approached them. "Hey, Sarah, it's been a long time." Her face lit up with surprise and then softened with caution. "Tim! Wow, look at you!" Her eyes searched his, gauging his intentions. "I'm back to help with the fundraiser," he explained. "I'd love the community's support, and I'd like to reconnect." Sarah hesitated but then nodded slowly. "The community has missed you. It's just that things have changed a lot around here." "I know," he said, his heart racing. "But I'm committed. I really want to make things right." As they exchanged pleasantries, he felt a common thread start to weave again between them, tightening the fabric of connection he once felt. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, shadows stretching long across the park, Tim couldn't shake the sensation of eyes on him. Across the field, a small group had gathered around a woman kneeling beside her children. The sight halted him. The woman, with her head bowed and soft murmurs escaping her lips, held the hands of her 3 children in a grip that radiated love and protection. Tim's heart swelled. The moment was raw, profound. He wished to approach but felt intrusive. Yet, he couldn't pull his eyes away. Their whispered prayers draped the air like a warm blanket, igniting a memory from his own childhood, the evenings entrenched in belief, each word shared among family, a promise not just made, but embedded deep in their hearts. He stood there, contemplating the juxtaposition of his strife and their clarity. Did he have the courage to seek solace among them? A gentle breeze rustled through the trees, inviting him to step closer. Did this family hold a piece of the community he so desperately wanted to reconnect with? He took a step forward, uncertainty entwined with hope. Would this simple moment lead him to unexpected allies in the heart of the community? What would he discover if he dared to open that door? As Tim took another tentative step, the sounds of children giggling and playing faded into the background. His focus sharpened on that small family, the way their hands fit together like pieces of a puzzle. Each gentle squeeze was a promise, a commitment to one another that transcended the noise of the world around them. It was both comforting and heartbreaking. He had once shared such moments with his own family, yet the weight of his absence felt heavier than the distance he had traveled. Drawing closer, he could hear the woman's voice, soft but unwavering. "Lord, guide us and keep us safe. Help us to be a light in the world." The prayer resonated with him, awakening a longing deep within. He felt disconnected, as if he'd wandered off a well-trodden path, seeking his way back but unsure of the direction. Just as he was about to turn away, the woman lifted her head. Her eyes were a gentle storm, full of resilience and warmth. "Can I help you?" she asked, noticing him lingering nearby. Tim blinked, taken aback by her openness. I just wanted to say hello. I'm Tim. Nice to meet you, Tim. I hope that you don't mind me praying here with my kids," she replied, an inviting smile breaking across her face. He shook his head, feeling oddly at ease. "Not at all. It looks like a wonderful way to spend some time together." She introduced herself as Mia, and, as they spoke, Tim felt that earlier flicker of hope return, like the sun breaking through the clouds. He learned that Mia had been a resident of the neighborhood for years, a pillar in the community even when things got tough. Her kids buzzed around, attempting to catch butterflies, their laughter a sweet melody that danced in the air. As they chatted, Tim shared bits of his own story, his absence from the neighborhood, and the urge to make amends through the fundraiser. Mia listened intently, her nods encouraging him to continue. "That sounds like a wonderful idea," she said, her eyes gleaming with earnestness. "This community needs connection. If you bring us together, There's no telling how much we can accomplish. Families looking out for each other, building something good. Tim felt a swell of gratitude. It was one thing to have Charlie and Lisa on board, but to find this kindred spirit in someone he barely knew was an unexpected gift. Would you and your family like to help? He asked, hope growing in his voice. Absolutely. I'll round up some friends. Together, we can turn this into something special. As they exchanged contact information, Tim felt a sense of purpose surging through him. Building this fundraiser wasn't just about raising funds, it was about rekindling relationships, bridging gaps, and forging a community. The sun was now dipping lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Children chased after one another, laughter echoing. In that moment, surrounded by new friends and a growing network of support, Tim felt a sense of peace wash over him. Yet, as Tim prepared to leave, a nagging thought surfaced: was he truly ready for the challenges ahead? Would he have the strength to face what lay in his path, or would old mistakes come back to haunt him? Tomorrow, as he prepared for his first community meeting, those questions loomed large. But one thing was clear: he'd step into the fray, not just for himself, but for the community he so desperately wanted to reclaim. It was time for Tim to confront his past openly. Would he find the strength to bear the burdens of history, or would it shatter him anew? The morning came quickly, the sun's rays slicing through the heavy curtains, urging Tim awake. He rubbed his eyes, feeling the weight of yesterday's conversations still clinging to him. Today was pivotal. Today was the day he had to lead the community meeting and begin stitching the fabric of his former life back together. He dressed and took a moment to look in the mirror, gripping the edge of the sink. Who was he kidding? He felt like a ghost haunting a place he didn't belong. But as he thought of Mia's encouragement, her belief in him, a small spark flickered in his heart. He had to try. Arriving at the community center, he felt the energy shift. Families entered, a vibrant mix of laughter, chatter, and the subtle sounds of small children, a reminder of life taking root. He set up a simple table adorned with papers, a few flyers about the fundraiser, and a sign-in sheet meant for allies he hoped to rally. As attendees gathered, Tim's nerves escalated. The room was filling with familiar faces, some warm, others guarded. Charlie and Lisa appeared, offering reassuring nods just as Mia arrived with her kids in tow. Their bright smiles illuminated the room, calmed his racing heart. Tim began speaking, his voice wavering at first. Thank you all for coming. I know I haven't been around much, but I've realized how much this community means to me. He glanced at Mia, who beamed like a lighthouse guiding him through dark waters. I want to do something special for all of us. Hands went up as he outlined ideas for the fundraiser: a block party, games, a bake sale. Excitement swelled as people began to chat amongst themselves, enthusiasm building. Tim felt a rush of appreciation. They weren't just agreeing, they were investing their hearts. The room felt like a garden in bloom, the seeds of trust and connection taking root. But then, as the conversation grew, a shadow crossed his mind. What about those who disagree? Would they cast stones at his attempts? Before he lost himself to doubt, Mia stood up, her voice like honey. I've seen this community at its best and its worst. But I truly believe that we have the power to change the narrative together. The room buzzed with murmurs of agreement, hearts echoing her sentiment. Tim's chest swelled with gratitude at her support. But just as hope began to gust through the crowd, a tall, stern man interrupted, his arms crossed defiantly. And what makes you think we trust you, Tim? You left us when we needed you most. Silence fell like a stone. Tim's throat tightened. He could feel the weight of every glaring eye. In that moment, with every real fear bubbling to the surface, he felt exposed. The uncertainty he fought so hard to keep at bay swelled in his chest. He took a breath, steadying himself. You're right. I did leave. I was scared. But I'm here now, ready to face whatever comes next. Whispers danced in the air, some supportive, others skeptical. But as he looked around, he saw the flicker of hope igniting in familiar faces, like wildfire moving through dry grass. A hand shot up from the back of the room. What if we put our hands to work for each other? Let us make this happen. The wave of determination swelled among the crowd, and just like that, they were talking again. As the tension faded, Tim felt the burdens of yesterday lifting ever so slightly. But behind the relief, another uneasy thought emerged. Would this support hold when the road got rocky? As the meeting wrapped up, he felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. Leaving the community center, he felt both lighter and heavier, hope battling doubt within him. What would happen in the days to come? Would he truly find his place here, or was this just the calm before an inevitable storm? Days turned into a blur as Tim stepped into the whirlwind of organizing the fundraiser. The momentum was building faster than he could have expected. With Charlie, Lisa, and Mia by his side, the energy around town shifted. Neighbors who had once avoided eye contact were dropping by the store, eager to pitch in. Tim's heart swelled with a sense of belonging he hadn't felt in years. This was more than a fundraiser. It was a chance to reconnect, to breathe life back into the community spirit that had faded away. Bright banners and colorful flyers decorated every corner. Children skated past on bikes, shouting about the big day. Laughter echoed through the streets. In the midst of it all, Tim felt lighter. His past didn't define him. It was a stepping stone to this new reality. The day of the fundraiser dawned bright and clear. Tim stood at the park's entrance, taking it all in as families poured in like a tide. The smell of food wafted through the air, mingling with the joyous sound of children's laughter. The sight was vibrant, filled with hope and bright possibilities. As smiles arose from every face, Tim's heart brimmed with gratitude. Each person who showed up was a testament to connection, to shared stories that needed once again to be told. But the knot in his stomach tightened. This was his moment of truth. Would they embrace him fully, or would whispers of doubt specter through the shadows? Just then, he spotted Frank lingering at the edge of the crowd, arms crossed, watching. Tim's heart raced. Could he approach? Could he bridge that gap once and for all? Taking a deep breath, he walked towards the man, the crowd blurring behind him. Frank, he began, his voice steady yet soft, I'm really grateful you came. Frank's gaze didn't waver, but something flickered behind his intensity. Finances or not, if this is just for a show, you should know people can feel insincerity. Tim nodded, feeling the weight of each word. I know. But this isn't just for the store, it's about us together. I've spent too long outside looking in. I want my place back here, with everyone. Frank uncrossed his arms slightly, considering him, the moment stretching between them like a lifeline. Tim went on. I can't change the past, but I can make a promise for the future. I'm willing to put in the work to earn trust back. I want to be here not just for business, but as a friend. Frank watched him closely. After a long pause, he finally broke their gaze, looking around the park. The laughter of children and the warmth of the community wrapped around them. People are willing to forgive if you show them you care, he said, finally cracking a small smile. You can start today, Tim. Tim felt a rush of relief sweep through him. That small shift in Frank led him to believe they could indeed rebuild. As the day unfolded, Tim found himself shining in the laughter and love surrounding him. Families lined up for games and food, teaming up and engaging, each moment a brushstroke in the rediscovered mural of community life. The sun began to set, casting a warm orange glow across the park. Tim stood on a small stage, the energy of the crowd pulsing around him like a heartbeat. Thank you all for being here, he said, feeling emotion well up in his throat. I've learned that wealth isn't measured by what we have but how much we care for each other. I want to be part of this community again because each of you matters. The applause erupted like fireworks, and for the first time, he felt genuinely whole. People hadn't just come for the food or crafts. They were hungry for connection, just like him. In the front row stood Marissa, her face radiant with pride. He caught her eye, and he knew without words that they shared something dear. And there, among the faces he'd longed to connect with for so long, Tim discovered the true wealth of family, not blood relatives, but the ties formed through the heart. The laughter echoed and wrapped around him like a loved one's embrace, and he realized he was home at last. Each smile, each hand clapping, redefined his place in the world. place built not just on business but camaraderie and shared experiences. Now, as Tim walked among the crowd, the fears that had gripped him for so long dissipated, replaced by a resounding truth. They were all in this together, forging a path toward brighter days. With the moon rising, casting silvery light around the park, he remembered the prayer he'd overheard days ago, the one that had stopped him in his tracks. But this time, he was ready to lead by example, hand in hand with the people he once thought he'd lost. This was just the beginning. He could feel it deep in his bones. A new chapter was written in the hearts of his neighbors. Tim Mason was not just back. He was part of something far more significant than himself, breathing life back into the community, one smile at a time. You need to subscribe now to follow Tim's journey. This is the moment to show your support as we bring even more stories that touch the heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and make sure more people see these transformations. Comment below your thoughts and how you felt during this emotional conclusion. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring transformation. Each of your actions makes a real difference. Let us spread the love.